Welcome to DA300, awesome new features to help you manage BigQuery. My name is Tino Tereshko, and I'm a product manager on Google BigQuery. So BigQuery historically has been a serverless data warehouse, which kind of means a lot of things to a lot of folks. But in practicality, what it means to you is that you get unlimited scale. BigQuery is very easy to use. It's automatically self-optimizing. There's no virtual machine related performance cliffs of kind of unexpected behaviors. It's got a high level of reliability and a lot of other features. And of course, we recently announced that we now have an industry best 4 nines of availability in our SLA. So all of these are benefits of serverless that you get as a BigQuery customer. Now, folks who are on the far end of the maturity spectrum, right? Large enterprises, multinational organizations, they actually do want more control, more predictability. So over the years, we built out a number of features and functionalities that enable those organizations to take the control of BigQuery while kind of getting the best of BigQuery being serverless. In fact, we kind of built BigQuery to be for everyone, right? Whether you're a startup, whether you're a student, you're just kind of experimenting in your garage, we have functionality for that, right? Where you care about simplicity, ease of use, you want to experiment quickly. And then as you're growing and you have larger scales, you want more flexibility, you want more efficiency, you want more predictability, we give you that functionality. And again, all the way out to the largest enterprises where you have potentially exabyte scale use cases, you want control, you want predictability, you want monitoring, you want administration. So we are there to provide you functionality wherever you are on this gradient. And actually, if you move from the startup to grow up to large enterprises, you can take advantage of the various functionalities that we have here. Brilliant. So let me illustrate this whole concept through a fictional company. And so why not spruce up the administration topic with a little bit of cats? So this is actually my cat, Rascal. He's just like any other cat. He's got a lot of personality. And his interests really include naps. He really likes being pet. He stalks the neighborhood quite a bit, right? So that's his primary things in life that he cares about. So what if we used cutting-edge technology to really figure out what Rascal does all day and what he thinks and what drives him to really provide a better user experience for Rascal? So with that in mind, we thought about critical feline requirements, so short for CFRs, really. And so the first topic, of course, is naps. So what do we need to know about Rascal's naps? Well, we need to know how often he naps, where he naps, locations, and actually total nap time, right? Which tends to be about 20 hours a week, 20 hours a day. The second one is Rascal loves being pet, but he does, there's a certain threshold to petting. So we need to know what is this optimal number of pettings that he can sustain. Does he like to be pet on the belly? Does he like to be pet on the head? That's very critical to understand. And finally, for our sakes, we need to know how likely is Rascal to be upset if we give him just one more pet? That's really important to know. And finally, the third interest of Rascal is he's stalking the neighborhood. So we need to know the perimeter that he's patrolling. What is his territory? And a different cat right down the street has a different territory. We need to know how often he patrols it, and maybe we can even map the social network of Rascal and how he interacts with all the other cats. So these are all really, really critical things to know about felines. So with that extent, we're introducing 23 and Meow. This is a brand new innovative startup. It's Internet of Cats. What 23 and Meow does is it provides smart, connected collars for cats. Let me explain. So you put this collar on your cat, and the smart collar has lots of different sensors that collect telemetry data in real time. So there's a geospatial capability, so it gets location of Rascal. There's a temperature sensor. There's an accelerator meter that will tell you what the velocity of your cat traveling and the acceleration. There's also a microphone and a camera, so you can identify sounds and even take video and pictures. So all of that data gets captured and collected in real time, and then we perform predictive real-time analytics on that information. And so in this sense, we give you a better picture of what your cat does all day and what are your cat's preferences. It's beautiful. So let's take a look at the tech stack. All right, so 23 and Meow heavily relies on BigQuery. In fact, it's essentially the only thing that 23 and Meow is doing. They picked BigQuery because it's very easy to get started. Its time to market is critical because there are other similar startups that are trying to do the same thing. So 23 and Meow wanted to pick technology that's serverless, that's easy to get going with, and also easy to grow with. So let's walk through this technology stack. So first of all, we already talked about how a number of sensors are sending data into BigQuery in real time. That includes geospatial sensors. Right? So geospatial data comes into BigQuery. Point number two, this data is ingested in real time using BigQuery's unique real-time APIs to get that data into BigQuery for immediate access. Number three, BigQuery's new integration with AutoML and the cloud AI stack enables us to perform machine learning right inside of the data warehouse, right inside of BigQuery on this real-time data. So we've developed cat behavior models like danger of incremental pettings. How about the favorite body part to be pet on? And actually favorite nap time locations. These are all really advanced machine learning technologies that we've implemented here to develop this functionality. And number four, we have a number of public data sets that we include, that we enrich our data with. So for example, weather, right? That depends what your cat does, depending on what the weather outside is. And then we're using materialized views and we're moving that data into BI engine. And that's number five. And of course, a new upcoming BI engine enhancements allow you to run BigQuery SQL on top of BI engine. And number six, Looker, that recently joined our family, is used for dashboarding of this data. So this is an entire stack that essentially lives on top of BigQuery. Now, if you take a look at those things, 1 through 6, all those things are essentially unique to BigQuery, or almost unique, which means that you don't need to build out a number of different technologies to take advantage of all these things. This is all integrated right into BigQuery for you. It's beautiful. So we started out small, right? We rolled out our startup. We have a few trusted cats that we're using. And so we're just using BigQuery's perpetual free tier. If you're not familiar, you get 10 gigabytes of storage for free every single month, and you get a terabyte of data processed every single month. And we do this in perpetuity, no strings attached. You can keep using that free tier for as long as you want. But now that we've kind of expanded our offering beyond the trusted cats, and now we have 1,000 cats that are using our collar. So we're growing with BigQuery, right? We're on that gradient. And so we're using the BigQuery's on-demand bytes processed model, right? This is a billing model that is purely consumption. You're only paying for what you consume. You pay per query, right? So there's no wastage, it's super efficient, and there's zero administrative overhead. You don't have to think about anything. There's nothing to set up. But if you want to kind of manage your cost and make sure there's no, runaway bills or anything like that, we're leveraging cost controls. Beautiful. So now we've thought about how do we expand our offering to make things more interesting. So we introduced an additional sensor to our cat collars that actually measures cat pheromones. It kind of actually smells what the cat smells like. And it tracks the cat pheromone excretions and then runs machine learning models to understand what your cat is feeling at that particular moment. So this is called the Emotions API, and it's available to all of our 23 and Meow customers today. So on the back of the Emotions API, 23 and Meow has become really successful. We now have a whole 1 million daily active cats. Phenomenal success. But now actually our infrastructure costs is starting to grow as well, right? We're running more analytics. We're using more CPU and RAM. We have more dashboards. So our leverage of BigQuery is growing. And so we need to start kind of worrying about maybe monitoring it, maybe administering it a little bit more. And so the question pops up very typically with BigQuery customers is, are slots right for me, right? For the uninitiated, there's 2 billing models on for BigQuery. There's the bytes process model that most customers start out with, and then there's the slots model. And the slots model is optional. It tends to be for the larger customers, and it has some really nice benefits. So the question is, are the BigQuery slots the right for me? Well, in order to help our customers figuring out if that is the right option, we're launching something called BigQuery Slot Recommendations. It's currently in alpha. So this is advanced machine learning logic that we will run on your usage data, and of course using all the right privacy controls, and we will tell you proactively whether the slots model is the right model for you without sacrificing performance. So you could potentially save money without sacrificing performance, which is fantastic. And of course, the other pricing recommendation that we launched kind of helps you figure out whether you need to use monthly slots or annual slots. Go use that today. And there's a related session called CMP 100 that talks about that in a little bit of a greater depth. So what are BigQuery slots? It's a very frequent question that I hear. Well, it's simply a slot is a CPU, right? That's, you can think about it like that. And a CPU processes your queries, runs analytics. So whenever you purchase a slot or a number of slots, you purchase analytic processing capability. You purchase throughput, which means that a number of slots that you have will either give you faster queries or will give you more queries to run at the same time, or both, right? You're kind of buying a cluster of BigQuery with BigQuery slots. And you can buy slots today in with us per second commitment, per month, or per year. The per second commitment is called flex slots, and there's no difference between those slots except for flex slots you can cancel just after 60 seconds, so you can use them whenever and cancel them whenever, but they're a little bit more expensive. Monthly slots, you commit to an entire month, so you can't change, you can't cancel them or downsize them for the duration of a month, but you get a little bit of a discount on that. And then annual is, of course, the cheapest option, but the least flexible, right? You commit to a full year for that capacity, but you get a discount. So how are queries using slots? Let's talk about that. So a query really inside of BigQuery is the dynamic DAG, directed acrylic graph. What that means is it's what does dynamic mean? Dynamic means that as the query progresses, our query execution plan changes. Right? We learn more about what you're trying to do, we learn more about the data patterns, and we decide on the fly the best path of execution. This is really, really powerful. It really accelerates queries for you. But what does the DAG part mean? The DAG part means that a BigQuery query is a series of stages. Now they can run in parallel, they can run serially. There's all kinds of patterns that we can are leveraged there. And each stage is essentially a tiny mini query in its own right. Each stage has a parallelization factor, anywhere from 1 to, I've seen billions, which basically BigQuery says, I can parallelize this particular stage of the query by so and so amount. And it's very typical to have this parallelization factor in thousands. And a slot is essentially that CPU that executes a single parallelization unit of a single stage. So in this particular picture, you see the first stage has 10,000, a parallelization factor of 10,000. That means that BigQuery could use up to 10,000 slots at any point in time to execute this particular stage of the query. But now, if 10,000 slots is a lot of slots. If you have a little bit fewer than 10,000 slots, we will simply burn through the slots that are not available with time, right? So let's say if you have 500 slots will execute that stage, and then 9,500 slots will essentially queue up. And then as the first 500 slots free up, they will burn through that pent-up demand with time. And so think of a query as a series of stages, and each stage consumes any number from 1 to billions of slots potentially, and each stage doesn't have to get all its slots. It will kind of wait for the slots to come in. Hopefully I explained that well for you. Now, when you have multiple queries running concurrently, what happens in BigQuery? We use this concept called fair scheduling. What that means is each query gets equal right to the available provision slots. Now, if a small query comes in, it doesn't have to use its equal right. It potentially could use only a single slot if it's a small query. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, a query could request millions of slots, but they get equal right to the capacity that's available. Now, I've mentioned this before already. If a query doesn't get 100% of its requested slots, those slots just kind of queue up, right? So it will burn through that pent-up capacity as slots become available. And the final thing I want to mention is BigQuery continuously does this recalculation. This happens in real time. So whenever new queries come in, we will redistribute slots in line. Now, the effect here is queries speed up or slow down in real time rather than kind of cancel or anything like that. So let me give an example. So here on the right side, you'll see that the environment has 2,000 slots in total. And there's 4 queries running in there. And they're fairly large queries. So each one is asking for 500 slots. So for the maximum amount of slots. So our fair scheduler will actually give each query 500 slots. And let's say a 5th query comes in, that's a large query, and it needs a lot of slots as well. What we're going to do automatically in real time is we're going to take 100 slots away from each of the 4 queries. We'll just pause that work. We're not going to waste it. And we will give it to the 5th query. So now we have 5 queries running with 400 slots each. What that did to the original 4 queries, it just made them a little bit slower than before. So the system works really, really well. It actually biases against large runaway queries, right? And it biases for smaller queries that are higher, that have lower latency requirements. So it's a very, very useful pattern. So BigQuery slots pricing, let's talk about the benefits here. The first one, of course, it's predictable, right? You control how much you spend, right? You explicitly tell us, I want to purchase X amount of slots, and it's going to cost me a certain amount of money. Now, I've mentioned before, we have 3 types of commitments. We have monthly, annual, and flex slots. Monthly and annual require you to commit to 30 days or a full year, and flex slots essentially have no commitment period, so you can purchase them and cancel them whenever you want. The other thing is we don't rely on t-shirt sizes. You can buy slots in a number of granularities, and that's really, really powerful. The second part I should say is a lot of features come with slots. We don't have a special type of slots that you have to purchase in order to get materialized views. We don't have a special type of slot you need to purchase in order to buy advanced security features like customer master encryption keys, like time travel, like DDoS protection that we provide. All of that is included in slots. We also do things like batch ingest, which actually doesn't consume your slot capacity. It doesn't contend with your queries, and it comes from somewhere else. So you really don't pay for batch ingest at all. And we also do a lot of background processes like automatic reclustering that we don't charge for at all. Right? So it's something that we provide to you as a service to make sure that your queries are running exceptionally well, and we don't charge you for it. Now, and of course, the industry best 4 nines of SLA just comes with any slot, right? You don't have to pay extra for it. I should also mention that all of these properties you get with bytes process model as well. And finally, because we are serverless, because we're not bound to virtual machines, we get to provide some really interesting benefits to you, right? Our architecture is very unique in that sense. So the first one is we can provision capacity almost instantly, right? We don't have virtual machines to spin up a provision for you. We don't need to move data into your virtual machine to get performance, right? It's just serverless. It just lives there. So for us, scaling is just a number change. The other thing is, of course, the virtual machine doesn't have to be pre-warmed. Data doesn't need to be moved into the virtual machine, so you get optimal performance immediately. And the final bit that's a little bit hard to capture, but it's really, really important for real-life use cases. Whenever you increase capacity, it impacts your queries in flight immediately. So if you have a query that's running inside of your environment and you need to accelerate that query, adding more capacity will do that immediately. You don't have to undo the query, cancel the query, and start a new one, right? Queries in flight benefit from capacity changes. Fantastic. One last comment on the different commitment types. I want to make it really, really clear. So we have 3 commitment types: flex slots, monthly, and annual. And so think about what is the proper use case for how to combine these. You don't have to use only one of those types. It's just slots again, and the difference is the length of the commitment and price. So you can think about it workload by workload. You can have a steady state monthly or annual commitments there that are used 24/7. Right? And you get a lower price for them. And then you can use flex slots to have kind of like this burst addition capacity to the steady state that is used for seconds, minutes, hours, or potentially days, right? So you can combine these two, and that becomes really, really powerful. I'm really delighted to announce that today we're offering 100 slot pricing. So before today, you had to commit to 500 slots. Which admittedly is a little bit on, quite a lot for a number of our customers, right? So with a monthly contract, 500 slots was $10,000 a month. So a lot of our customers really wanted to start using slots pricing, but they wanted a lower price point. So we're introducing 100 slots. What that means is on a monthly contract, it's $2,000 per month. On an annual contract, it's $1,700 per month. And on a flex contract, it's just $4 per hour, right? So you can purchase 100 slots, cancel them after 1 hour, and you only pay $4. So it's really expensive, and I'm hoping that a lot of our customers embrace this model. We're continuing to expand our administration functionality in many different ways. So admin panel UI is one of those investments that we're making. It's on the roadmap. We're hoping to make it available in the next few months. Essentially what the administration panel UI does, it's a BigQuery native monitoring and administration platform. It allows you to chart how you're using BigQuery in real time. So it's going to allow you to monitor slots, resources, queries, jobs, users, and so on and so forth. You'll also be able to do this in real time and historically going back 30 days or more, which means that you can zoom in and zoom out depending on the use case. For the real-time use case, you can identify whether somebody in your organization is using too much and perform root cause analysis in that way. Whereas if you zoom out historically, you'll be able to decide whether you need more capacity or less capacity based on their various usage patterns. The next set of features that we've recently launched is information schema views. Now, a number of these views are already available. Some of them are general availability. And what these views allow you to do is in real time and historically, again, you can see everything that's going on inside of BigQuery. So today we have available jobs and reservations views. We're going to be soon launching streaming views. So if you're streaming data into BigQuery, you can see what's happening there, error rates, bytes ingested, things like that. We're also going to provide storage views. So you can see how much data is stored in each of your column, each of your partition, each of your table, and how it's being used. And eventually, we're going to actually get into permissions as well. So some of the benefits of information schema that we provide, well, for one, it's just automatically managed by us. It's the data that we provide for you, and we don't charge you for the storage. So that's really nice. It's just there, and you can start using it. It's live, right? So this is consistent sub-second latency of information that's provided to you. It's also historical, so we get up to 6 months of historical information in these tables automatically free of charge. The other benefit is for larger organizations that have lots and lots of projects, we provide you an organization-wide view. So you don't have to kind of query every single project to figure out what's going on. You can query information schema tables for your entire organization. So there's lots of really interesting use cases on top of that you can leverage these tables with. Fast forward a few months, and 23 Meow has been really, really successful, but we've decided to launch some new features. Because we have been capturing sound for a long time using our microphone on these collars, we started developing machine learning models that help us understand what the cat is actually saying. And then we've developed a two-way language API that allows us to understand cats, but also to communicate back. So it will actually translate human English language, only English is supported for now, into cat meows and purrs. So it allows us to communicate directly with the cat. This is a fantastic feature, and it immediately propelled us to become a global phenomenon, right? We have today 1 billion daily active cats, and we're a multinational organization. We operate in 145 countries. It's just an amazing success that we've experienced so far. But we've grown so fast, and so we are a large organization now, but we're still using BigQuery as the same core of our technology. So how do we obtain more control? What kinds of problems are we facing as a 1 billion daily active cat organization? So for one is we really care about price. We're about to go IPO, and so we need to kind of get our finances in order. So we need to control the cost. We need to control the cost of the organization as a whole, and we need to control it per organization all the way down to individual users. We also have some really critical SLAs. We actually run our machine learning models often right in BigQuery. So those are very important workloads that we have, and we need to make sure that those get the right resources and they finish in the right amounts of time. So that's critical for us to have workload management capability. And the third one is cost attribution. Again, we should be able to trace every single action that's happening in our environment and down to the user that has caused that action so that we can attribute costs. So these are all very much enterprise-grade, billion daily active cat problems that we're facing. So to support these use cases, we launched BigQuery Reservations. This is a general availability platform for workload management and cost management inside of BigQuery. BigQuery Reservations today enables you to purchase slot commitments in seconds, again, monthly, annual, and flex types. Then you can take that capacity and you can departmentalize, you can isolate and partition it into individual departments or teams or sets of users, right? So if you have X amount of capacity, you want to give the individual use cases their isolated pools. So we allow you to do that. And finally, it allows you to share any unused capacity across your organization. So in the periods when there's not a lot going on, that capacity is not wasted. It's available for the rest of the organization to be used seamlessly and automatically. So let's think of a typical use case of how reservations are used in practice. So let's say we figured out that 1,000 slots is what we need in terms of capacity. And we said that 500 of those slots are going to be our steady state slots, and we can lock them in on a very inexpensive annual contract. And then 500 slots are going to be flex slots, simply because maybe we want to have more or less, we're not entirely sure, so we do want that flexibility. But in total, we have 1,000 slots. That's our capacity for data processing, right? A slot is a slot. Step number 2, we're going to take those 1,000 slots, and we have 3 different business units. We have the team that manages Pheromones API. We have a team that manages the Languages API, and we have a team that manages BI, all the dashboards. That's 3 separate teams within our organizations. And the Pheromones is, of course, where we make all of our money. So we're going to give them 500 slots. The Languages team is really important, but it's a newer feature, so we're going to give them 300 slots, and then BI is going to get 200 slots. So we've partitioned these workloads into these departments. And finally, the third step is we assigned all the relevant projects to these reservations, and off we go. That's all we have to do, set and forget. Here's a new feature that's going to help even further with this type of use case. BigQuery Slots Autoscaling is coming soon. What BigQuery Slots Autoscaling does is it automatically provisions and deprovisions capacity for you based on how you're using our platform, right? So it's really, really advanced functionality. So again, because we're not running on virtual machines, because we are serverless, we're able to give you a lot of benefits the traditional virtual machine-based data warehouse cannot. For one is we have 0-second warm-up. The moment you get your capacity provisioned, your capacity is at 100% performance. There's no such thing as hydrating your local disk to make sure the performance is optimal. The second, as I already mentioned, whenever you increase capacity, your queries in flight take advantage of that immediately. The third is, again, because we're not running on local disk, because we're not relying on local storage, there are no unexpected behaviors like performance cliffs when the local storage goes away or gets saturated, right? We don't rely on local storage. We have true separation of storage and compute. And finally, we express this in our SLA, is we're immune to downtime for individual nodes all the way to large portions of a data center. And that's why we're able to provide 4 nines of the SLA. So let's talk about slots autoscaling a little bit more. So all we're doing here is we're adding one additional variable to the reservations configuration. It's called max autoscaling limit. And so let's walk through this example, right? So what we did is for the Pheromones reservation, we set the autoscaling limit to be 300. And for the BI reservation, we set the autoscaling limit to be 1,000, right? And so we did this per reservation. That's where this configuration lives. But we didn't enable this on the language reservation. And so what happens is whenever the Pheromones reservation needs more than 500 slots, it will try to get that 500 slots from across the rest of the organization. It will try to see if the languages reservation has idle capacity or if the BI reservation has idle capacity. And then it's going to say, well, I still need more capacity than that because I have a lot of data processing to do. And only then will reservations autoscaling kick in. Only then we will increase your capacity by 300 slots, which is fantastic, right? So the only way autoscaling kicks in is if the entire organization is saturated and there is no idle slots to be had. And then if the capacity is no longer necessary, we'll automatically downscale your reservation. So Pheromones will go from 500 slots to 800 slots and down, whereas BI will go from 200 to 1,200 slots and down. Now, something I should mention is that the current version of autoscaling that we're working on is binary, which means that we will only increase to the maximum amount or back to the minimum amount, right? So in this example, the Fairmont's reservation will only be at size 500 or size 800. There's no intermediate state. And of course, eventually we will have all these advanced autoscaling modes as well. So how does autoscaling work with steady state capacity? Well, really, you think about it, you can purchase monthly, annual, flex commitments and keep them as steady state capacity that is always there, that's guaranteed for you. And then you can turn on autoscaling on top of it to provide burst. And it's managed for you, right? Autoscaling only kicks in when necessary. How do you pay for it? Well, what we do is we purchase flex slots for you. Right? So autoscaling underneath the hood uses flex slots. And so you pay the flex slots rates. Now here's a really, really advanced capability that autoscaling provides for you. Starting from zero. This is kind of called the auto pause or auto start use case. So in this example, we actually have zero commitments. We've purchased zero slots and all of our reservations are sized to be zero, which means that there's not a single slot purchased or provisioned, and you pay us nothing in terms of analytic capability. But we set autoscaling for each reservation. Right? So Fairmont's, Language BI, they all have autoscaling limits set. In this mode, whenever a query comes into the environment, we will immediately scale the reservation to its maximum limit, and the query will execute immediately. And then on the opposite side, whenever your reservation is idle, we will diminish it back to zero, right? So this is essentially auto pause, auto start. Your BigQuery environment will only operate when you're running queries, and it will shut down when your queries are not running, which will enable you to save a good amount of money. So I've talked about a number of features that enable you to kind of traverse the gradient of growth, right? From a tiny little startup where you're just trying to go to market quickly to a mid-sized organization, all the way to a multinational organization with complex requirements and complex needs and reporting and so on and so forth. So let's kind of summarize everything that we've talked about. So on the pricing front, we have flex slots that went GA at the end of June. We recently launched 100 slots. So now you can purchase capacity for as little as $2,000 a month with a monthly contract, or $4 per hour with the flex contract. And the other thing we talked about quite a bit is the fact that we share idle capacity across your environment. It doesn't go to waste. The second point is workload management capability, right? So once you have this capacity, how do you actually break it up into your departments and workloads? Well, Reservations is the powerful platform that enables that, and it's GA. But we recently announced Slots Autoscaling with that additional level of automation that enables you to scale up and down and only pay for what you consume. And finally, we talked about Admin Panel, which is the visual UI that we will provide to help you monitor and perform root cause analysis on your environment. And finally, intelligence, higher level data and logic that we'll provide to you that will help you drive your decision making. So of course, Information Schema is a project that will have a series of views that will enable you to get data, and slot recommendations, just our first step in this advanced intelligence that will tell you exactly what's going on in the environment and will recommend to you further action. Now, actual administration knobs and performance is just one part of the story. Of course, as an administrator, oftentimes you care about performance. We'll continue to invest in this area. Throughout the years, we've always made BigQuery faster and faster and faster and faster. So just from this beginning of this year alone, from January 1st, we look at the industry standard TPC DS benchmarks, and we measure our performance improvements to be anywhere from 20% to 30%. And the way you get this benefit is just the next time you run a query, you would just get a better performance. We perform these optimizations for you on the background. We roll out code without disturbing your environment. You just get these benefits, and you get these benefits without any additional cost. So this is a trend that we have, right? Every few months, we add some better performance optimizations. Your queries just become faster and faster and faster and faster, and this trend will continue in the future. So we talked about this quite a bit, right? When you're starting out, you really want the easiest path to go to market. You don't want to worry about things. And so our serverless capability enables you to do that. There's nothing to set up. You only pay for what you consume, and off you go. But as you grow, you care more about different things. You care more about control and predictability. And so we built out a series of capabilities that enable you to take advantage of that. But the key is that all of these things are optional, right? You only need to use admin panel if you care about predictability and control, and you're a certain size. So please be mindful of that, because we have a lot of customers that are on the larger side, but we have lots and lots of customers that are on the free tier or have very, very little data inside of BigQuery, and that's perfectly okay, right? BigQuery is built for everyone. We recently talked about trial slots. So this is a promotion for new BigQuery customers that enables you to get 95% off of slots. So essentially, you can buy 500 slots for a duration of 6 months for $500 per month. This is a 20th of the cost of a monthly contract. Right? So just $1 per slot per month. Of course, it's just slots, so you can combine them with other types of slots. You can combine them with other flex slots, monthly and annual, and so forth. And of course, it covers all of your SQL queries that you run, right? So it's in a good amount of capacity. Now, I should be mindful to tell you that this is a promotion, so certain qualifications and restrictions do apply. So finally, I want to open the floor to everyone to think about the next 10x use case for our tiny little startup, 23 and Meow. There's lots of things that cats can do, and we're open to collaboration. We're open to more ideas. So send me some of your ideas on Twitter to the Tino T, and I really appreciate all the time that you spent listening to me. Thank you so much.